The next time you step into an elevator, look at the mirror. Not at yourself, though you always do, but at the mirror itself. Ask yourself, why is it there? If your answer is so I can check my hair, you're not wrong. But you're not even close to the real reason. And the real reason is one of the most quietly brilliant pieces of psychological engineering hiding in plain sight. That mirror wasn't put there for vanity. It was installed to solve a problem that engineers spent years failing to fix. A problem that had nothing to do with glass and everything to do with the way the human brain unravels when you lock it in a metal box. Welcome to Breakdownz, the story behind everything. Think about what an elevator actually is. A room the size of a walk-in closet. No windows, no natural light. You share it with strangers at uncomfortably close range with nowhere natural to look. The doors seal, and then nothing. You wait. Humans didn't evolve to be comfortable with this. About 4 to 5% of the global population experiences clinical claustrophobia, and elevators are one of its most common triggers. For the rest of us, the unease is milder, a low hum we've learned to ignore. So when tall buildings proliferated in the early 20th century, building managers started hearing a strange, persistent complaint. Not that the elevators were dangerous, not that they were broken, just that people hated waiting for them, hated being in them, couldn't quite explain why. The engineers tried everything: faster motors, better scheduling, more cars per shaft. And then someone took a completely different approach. They stopped trying to fix the elevator and started trying to fix the passenger. The story begins with a hotel, never named publicly and recorded only as a well-known hotel group whose guests complained constantly about slow elevators. Consultants were brought in. They analyzed the mechanics, the timing, the traffic flow. Their conclusion: the elevators were performing fine. The wait times were perfectly reasonable. The problem was not the elevator at all, it was the guests' perception of the wait. Their solution was almost insultingly simple. Install mirrors near the elevator banks. Complaints dropped almost immediately. Not because the wait got shorter, it did not. But now guests had something to do while they waited. They checked their appearance, adjusted their tie, glanced at who else was standing there. The idle, anxious seconds dissolved into occupied ones. Harvard Business School professor David Maister built his landmark 1984 paper, The Psychology of Waiting Lines, around this case. His core finding: customer satisfaction. With a wait depends not on how long it actually is, but on how it is experienced. Unoccupied time feels longer than occupied time. Uncertain waits feel longer than known ones. Anxious waits feel longer than calm ones. The mirror addressed all three at once for the cost of a piece of glass. Now, if you've ever searched this question online, you've probably encountered a different answer. That mirrors are legally required so wheelchair users can see behind them when backing out of a cab. It's a compelling story. It also isn't true, at least not in the United States. The word mirror does not appear once in the ADA standards for elevators. The American accessibility solution is car dimensions and turning space, not glass. In Japan, though, the story is real. The Japan Elevator Association explicitly cites wheelchair users as the rationale for in-car mirrors, and some local ordinances actually require them. So the story crossed an ocean and lost its passport. What America does mandate is more interesting. New York City's building code requires mirrors in residential self-service elevators so residents can see whether someone is lurking inside before they step in. Not accessibility. Security. Which says something quietly fascinating about a city's priorities in a small enclosed space. And then there is the story you will find in the most shared posts. That Otis solved a wait time problem at the World Trade Center in 1971 by adding mirrors. It has a named company, a named building, a named year. It also has no primary documentation, no Otis records, no contemporaneous reporting. It is a legend that attached itself to the real hotel case and gained specificity over time. But here is what happens when all the design fails. October 15, 1999. Nicholas White, a 34-year-old production manager at Business Week, stepped into car number 30 of the McGraw-Hill building in Manhattan after a cigarette break. A power dip of 1/10 of a second froze the elevator between floors 13 and 14. The alarm rang. Nobody answered. Security guards watched other elevators on the same monitor and never noticed the one he was in. He was trapped for 41 hours, through the entire weekend. No food, no water. When the doors finally opened Sunday afternoon, one of his friends said he looked like a ghost. The mirror was there. It did not help him. The mirror is one feature in an entire invisible network of behavioral design built into almost every elevator you've ridden. Each piece was added to solve the same category of problem. Not a mechanical failure, but a psychological one. Muzak, elevator music, was piped into cabs in the 1920s and the 1930s to calm riders unsettled by the loud, jolty machinery of early elevators. Floor indicators were added because uncertain waits feel dramatically longer than waits with a visible endpoint. A progress bar, essentially, for altitude. And then there's the door close button. The one you press when you're in a hurry and someone is walking toward you. In most modern elevators, that button does nothing. The Americans with Disabilities Act mandates that doors stay open long enough for mobility aid users to board, so the close function was quietly disabled for the public after 1990. The button stayed because removing it would confuse people. It exists to give you the feeling of control, not actual control. The feeling. The same logic runs through hospital call buttons, Disney's deliberately overestimated queue wait times, and progress bars on software downloads. All of them are mirror logic, fix the perception, not the machine. So the next time you step into an elevator and catch yourself glancing at the mirror, fixing your collar, watching the person behind you without technically looking at them, remember what just happened. A hotel consultant had a problem an engineer could not solve. A psychologist could. And the solution was so perfectly calibrated to how the human brain actually works that it spread everywhere and nobody ever questioned it. We just accepted it as furniture. That mirror is not there to show you what you look like. It is there to remind you that the most powerful design decisions are never about the thing itself. They are about how the thing makes you feel. If this one landed, hit like, share it with someone who's never thought twice about an elevator mirror, and subscribe to Breakdownz, the story behind everything, for more massive stories hiding in plain sight. I'll see you in the next chapter.